I'm Bob Sherman from Northel Energy. My presentation won't be very long because the first two talk about a lot of things that have to do with renewable energy, and wind has the same effect. You know, all the net metering and make an investment now for the future, et cetera, et cetera. But I'll start off like Dave did about, is there enough wind in Ohio to have wind turbines? So I put my map up here. Really, the windiest is red, and it goes to orange, to yellow, to green. Any one of those areas is fine as far as wind is concerned. We have data for any point in the United States, but the state of Ohio, so we know if you live out in the country somewhere exactly how windy it is at that point, and that's what we use in order to determine what size wind turbine to put up. Our company. I'm not going to talk about this, you can just look at that as I talk. We make them from 10 kilowatts up to 250 kilowatts. Obviously, the more wind that's at a site, the smaller wind turbine that you need to generate the amount of electricity you need. We're talking about electric bills. I just looked at my electric bill. I don't have a wind turbine in the city. That's probably not going to happen very often. The one up on 270 here for the car dealership, they must have got an exception because most municipalities have a zoning regulation against wind turbines. In fact, I went into the guy at Dublin at the zoning department. I said, "Hey, listen, I want to put a wind turbine in my backyard." He just laughed out loud. He didn't think that was a very good idea. Obviously, solar is a better idea for the cities. So yeah, there's lots of wind in Ohio. They have a 200 wind farm, 200 member wind farm up in Van Wert County that they connect into the AEP. Those are the big commercial ones, 2 or 3 megawatts, $2-3 million a piece that they pay for those. Once again, the AEP has to have so much power generated by 2025 from natural resource, from green renewable resources that they put that in. There's another one that's going in just up south of Cedar Point, up in that area, another 83 big ones going in. Farmers like it because obviously they get some of the electricity, but more importantly, they lease part of their land in order to have them put that on there. I understand last year the state of Ohio was #1 in the percent increase of wind turbine generation in the United States. Now, obviously, the state of Ohio didn't have as much to start with, so it's easier to reach that percentage, but that's a good thing. Same thing for solar, so we're pretty progressive here in the state of Ohio, and that's a good thing. Obviously, the market for wind is much more in the rural areas than it is in the normal areas of cities and so forth. Anyways, I looked at my bill, and I think I'm pretty average user, about 10,000 kilowatts of usage a year at my house. And I figured out if I put a 10 kW wind turbine in, if it was running at its maximum, which is about 22 miles an hour, I'd only have to run it 11% of the time to generate that much power. So these things are pretty efficient as far as generation of power is concerned, but obviously I can't do it in my house. Our equipment is manufactured in Turkey. I represent the manufacturer, so we think one of our advantages is we don't have any middleman markups. The company's been in existence for 30 years. Europe has obviously been a little bit in front of the United States as far as renewable energy is concerned. And the equipment is warranted for, the last 25, 30 years. We have a lot of the new technologies that other companies don't have. We start producing power at about 6 miles an hour, as opposed to a lot of them don't do it until 9 or 10. Doesn't sound like much, but over the elapsed time of a year of wind, that makes up a big difference. We do it with better technology there, and also we have auto pitch control on our bigger ones, which means the blades automatically turn so they generate more power for the same amount of wind speed is concerned. Everybody talks about energy costs increasing. We agree with that, 3 or 4% annually, we think. Once again, just like with solar, we have a guaranteed electrical output for the proposed wind turbine will guarantee how much that unit will produce over a 5-year period. Obviously, year to year, it does fluctuate, but over the long term, the wind is gonna be pretty steady. We can eliminate your electric bill in half the time than it took 5 years ago. It's basically a business decision, just like all green energy things are. Do you wanna make an investment up front? And so that in 5 or 6 years, then you pay for that investment, and then from then on, the electric for your business or farm or wherever you're gonna have this device, it's gonna be free. Same thing, a federal tax credit. We get a USDA grant, which is the Department of Agriculture. I don't know if they have that for solar. We don't have SRECs and those kinds of things on that side of it. We have the bonus depreciation. And also, at the last show at GEO, they do have some state loans that you can get for low interest rates, 2 to 4%, in order to fund the project itself. All we need really to do a analysis from you is your location and one of your electric bills that shows your 12 months worth of usage, and we can give you a complete proposal. And our company does everything from installation to maintenance. By the way, maintenance is pretty minor. It depends on what size system you have. Some of our systems, we actually don't even need a crane to put them up. We just lower them down, do the maintenance, and put them back up again. Once a year, it's sort of like a car. You change the oil, you change a few seals. They're very long-lasting systems, like I said. So not much on the maintenance side. A gentleman asked me, I think he's gone now, what happens, what speed is it when they generate the most, 20 to 22 miles an hour? And it sort of levels off. It doesn't matter if it's 30, that's really the maximum it's going to generate. What happens if it's in Oklahoma and you have a tornado? Well, they turn off automatically. They turn sideways in order to not catch the wind. And then an hour later, they'll turn back on again, and they'll see if the wind has died down. And if it hasn't, then they'll turn off and so forth. So these are computer controlled devices. They have web access. I mean, kids at schools can look and see how much they do. As a homeowner, you can see when it's generated. One big difference between wind and sun is it's always windier in the winter months and sunnier in the summer months. So a lot of people, what they do is they have a combination. They put a small wind turbine in, solar, and then they combine the two together, and that makes for a nice system for them year round. Even though they do get credits, they can size it so that maybe it just comes out properly for them. Also, it is windy at night, as opposed to not having the sun. So that's about all I got. Any questions?
What is the smallest turbine?
I'm sorry?
What is the smallest capacity turbine that?
Oh, they make a lot of them on the internet. We make a 10 kilowatt. That's our smallest that we make. But you can go on the internet and get 2.5, even smaller than that. If you want to rooftop mount them, when you get up to 10, you can't rooftop mount them. You need a good base security for that, for the torque that the propellers generate.
I have a very weird question.
Okay.
We live at the highest point in Franklin County, and there's a Worthington Hills golf course surrounds that, and there's a deed that went back to Union Carbide and set it up, and they have links on the edge of that, and they're threatening to put in, and they've had to wait now a couple more years because their statute due. They want to put in a cell tower. I've suggested they really should put in a wind turbine. What, from their perspective, would that generate as much revenue for them as a cell tower? What kind of revenue do they get off of a cell tower? I think a cell tower is extremely ugly. And their neighbors that are concerned about the externalities, either electrical, whatever, because they're small children, they're within feet of where it would be, so.
I have no idea what a
Okay.
cell tower generates. I can tell you what the wind turbine would, but probably if you live in the area of a city, probably the city council would let them put up a cell tower.
We're in a township.
Yeah.
And this would be, I don't know, we're probably at the highest point in Franklin County. So, there's also, I realize the zoning for a cell tower there is no zoning. They can put them anywhere they want to, but I just imagine.
Yeah, so I don't really know what the cost would be, and I'd be concerned, I'd go to the township board and
Yeah, no, they
make sure that's
obviously-
even an alternative,
Yeah.
you know. Yes, ma'am.
Are the turbines steel? What are they made out of?
Well, usually hard plastic, a composite of plastic, so they're not normally steel. I mean, the pole itself, I
Yes.
mean, but on top, you know,
The blades?
the blades themselves are not.
And they are manufactured in Turkey
The entire system is manufactured in Turkey.
and then shipped over here?
The chips,
Shipped?
shipped, and then it's shipped over here.
I see.
I mean, you know, everybody thinks that it's gonna add a lot of cost to it, but people in Turkey don't make as much, building them as somebody in the United States would. And so the cost is really, I think we got a cost advantage over others, based on that.
Even your towers?
Pardon?
Even your towers,
Yep.
they're produced there as well?
Yep.
Wow.
And we've looked into having somebody produce them here, and it's almost twice as much. Just for the towers, you know, just for the cost of the tower, than it is for what they do.
Who owns this company?
I'm sorry?
Who owns this company?
Who owns it?
Yeah.
My boss. Yeah, and you know, gentleman from Turkey,
Okay.
and the president of our company was high school classmate with him. So that's how
Connection.
that's how the connection started.
Is one of your turbines over in Licking County?
It is.
Excellent.
We just started in January, so we're just trying to get into this marketplace. You know, like a lot of foreign companies try to, because they see a large scale land mass, and obviously their electric bills are much higher than ours are, and so the investment and the justification is much harder here than there. Also, a couple of years ago, there was a lot more grants that were available. And I don't know about the solar, but same thing, and now the federal government, you know, when they have had bad times, and they've gotten rid of them. And it used to be you could get almost 80% off. I mean, if you're in the right situation and, you know, a resident on a USDA farm and the tax credit, and so obviously it was a lot better back then, but our federal government has decided to spend our money other ways.
How big is the turbine in Licking County?
A 10,
10?
I think.
I assume pretty well.
And it's, you know, it happens to be in the blue area, and it goes, well, how can it be in the blue area? Well, once again, like you said, it's on a high hill. It just happens to be on the tallest hill around, and so it gets more than enough wind.
How high is the tower?
25 meters, I think it is. Maybe it's 20.
It's a residential?
It is. I guess it's a farm, a
How
small
much
farm.
Is it a farm?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to thank Bob for the presentation.
Okay.